Hey everyone, this is Matt with Surf City TCG. If you're new to my channel, I specialize in EDH/Commander content for Bracket 3, top of the line, optimized Commander decks, typically with no infinite combos. I'm back today with one of my complete coaching session videos. So here it is for you in its entirety. If this is something that you would be interested in, you can contact me directly on Discord. My handle there is SurfCityTCG, or the link to my Discord is in the video description and comments below. Alternatively, check out my Patreon for more info on how to book one of these sessions. So without further ado, here it is. Enjoy. Hi, Julio.
How's it going?
Going well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
So the prompt you gave me was you like my Sauron bracket 4 deck, but you wanted to downgrade it to bracket 3 because you're just looking to keep it within the restrictions of having 3 game changers, but still have it be as powerful as possible. Is that right?
You got it. Yep.
Okay, cool. And I understand you had some questions before we got started, so shoot.
Yeah, it's just some interactions. I'm not that familiar with most of the cards, but one of them is Dak Faden. I know that the -2 is what we really want him for, which is gain control of target artifact. If Dak leaves, if he gets killed, if he's exiled, do the artifacts go back to the controller?
They do not.
To the owners, I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So if an effect indicates that you're stealing something, it will tell you the duration. And if it doesn't, then there is no duration.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much a like hard and fast rule with most things. Like you were asking last time if an ability could be used at instant speed of a creature. And I think similar to this, if there were restrictions on it, it would tell you, but otherwise you should think that it's unrestricted. Now, planeswalkers are different by their nature. Their abilities can only be used on your turn unless they like specify otherwise. And there is one. It's Teferi, Master of Time, I think. Says specifically that you can use it on other people's turns. See right at the top.
Yep, understood.
But normally, like for activated abilities of artifacts or even creatures, as long as they don't have summoning sickness and, if they require haste to be tapped, for example, but you can use them at an instant speed.
Understood. The second card, it's Yawgmoth Thran Physician. I understand that he has pay 1, sacrifice another creature, and how well that works with our Orc army. But the question really is for the -1/1 counter up to 1 target. I know the way I read it is, if I can put a 1/1 up to, this is where I'm a little bit confused. And is it just 1 creature, or for example, if there's 9 other creatures and I sack 9 armies, I can put a -1/1 on all those 9 creatures once I sack each Orc army individually?
Yep, good question. So in general, and I'm not sure if I told you this last time, but a colon will indicate an activated ability. Okay. Pretty much like always. So if you see a colon, it means this is an activated ability. So this is too, right? And everything before the colon is the cost to activate. So the cost of activating this first ability is these 2 things. You must pay both of these things or you can't activate it. And then this is what you get if you do that. Now, if you're asking, can you do this more than once a turn? It follows the same rule as I just said, which is you can do it as many times as you want unless it tells you otherwise. So
understood.
If you had, the Orc armies are a little bit of an interesting case because you can only ever sacrifice 1 and then you'd have to wait to create a new one. Or like there might be the creation of one that is on the stack. So maybe we should talk a little bit about that just to make sure you understand fully like how the whole thing works. But does that answer the question that you had about this? Each time you sacked a creature, like, so you couldn't necessarily sack a bunch of armies all at the same time because you could only ever have 1 army without some like wacky shenanigans. But if you had a bunch of other creatures out, you could sack all of them.
And here's my second question. Let's say an opponent has a 4/5, right? And every turn that it's a painful 4 and 5. Can I just keep on putting? Let's say if I meet the requirements, paying the 1 life and sacrificing a creature. can I just keep on putting -1/1s on that specific creature if I want to?
Totally.
Or
1/1 counters
okay.
don't go away whether they're +1 or -1. They're gonna like sit on that creature
No,
forever.
but my question was whether or not if a creature already has a -1/1, does Yawgmoth let me continue putting
Yes,
-1/1s on that same creature? There we
definitely.
go.
They're just like
Okay.
+1 counters. So you've seen creatures with like 10, 20 +1 counters. -1
Yep.
can be just the same. You can accumulate as many as it can hold before it
Excellent.
dies. And they don't go away at the end of turn. And one interesting thing to know about +1 and -1 counters, they do net out. That's a rule of Magic.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, this only matters like for his second ability, which is proliferate. You couldn't proliferate the -1 counters on a creature if it had a +1 counter. Because
Understood.
if a creature had a +1 counter, you'd put a -1, and instead of getting a -1 counter, it would just basically
Be back
destroy
to
the
0.
+1 counter. Exactly. And then you couldn't
Got it.
proliferate it because it has no counters.
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good interaction question. Okay. Yep.
All right.
The last piece of this puzzle, which I don't the card obviously has a use because it wouldn't be here if it didn't have a use. But
Mm-hmm.
Maze of Ith as a land,
Mm-hmm.
untapped target attacking creature. Where's your head coming with that? I don't see where that fits in this puzzle.
Yeah, no, fair question. This is not a card that's really that easy to parse if you haven't played like with or against it. So this is a land that doesn't produce mana. So
Mm-hmm.
you almost, when you put this in your deck, you need to count it as a spell slot almost. So
Yep.
but it does eat up your land drop if you play it for turn. So it's not the kind of land you should count as a land when you have it in your opening hand. Now, there is one exception, and you'll notice that the decks mostly that I play Maze of Ith in have one of two cards in them, and they are either, where
The
is
one
it?
that turns everything to a
Urborg.
swamp.
Exactly.
Yep.
Urborg makes Maze of Ith a swamp, so it could then tap for mana. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
green version of this card too, obviously not in this deck, but it's called Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. So
Yep.
both of those make it a lot easier to run Maze of Ith because it doesn't punish you for like this not being able to tap for mana.
Understood.
And in general, this effect is worth it though. Like is worth you know, again, when I'm looking at your hand, when you're looking at your hand for a mulligan, just consider this as a spell. And when you're building your mana base, if you wanted to play 36 land, make sure you're playing 37. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yep. It does.
But it's a very, very good card because the the power of this card is not completely obvious either. Because one of the biggest things that makes Maze of Ith really strong is a concept that is commonly called threat of activation. So sometimes you don't even ever have to use this. You just tell people you have it, and then they won't send an attacker at you because they know it's pointless. When in fact, the correct play would be for them to send the attacker, let you use it, and then other people can attack you safely. But a lot of times opponents aren't very good at coordinating, and that just won't happen. And then this will be like almost like a propaganda.
Understood. Okay, so an opponent swinging their whatever creature at me. I have Maze of Ith. I can tap once the attack is declared, tap Maze of Ith
Mm-hmm.
and prevent all that combat damage that specific creature would do to me.
Precisely. You
Understood.
can
Okay.
also untap your own creatures if they were all of a sudden going to be in danger in combat. That's a more of a corner
Understood.
case usage, but it's a thing that you can do.
So, for
And
example,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say one other trick. This is like not that important, but you should know. Combat is several phases. Okay, it's not, it is just one phase, but there are several steps of combat, as it were. So, you know, when you move out of your main phase, every time you change phases actually, and every time you change steps within phases, everyone gets priority. Okay, so when you're moving out of your first main phase, priority automatically assumes is going to opponents. So when you say I'm going to combat, well, you're supposed to declare that you're going to combat. A lot of people just shortcut and start attacking. But,
Mhm.
if you're playing properly, you say I'm going to combat because that gives everyone priority to do something if they wanted at the end of your main phase. Now you're at the beginning of combat. Nothing happens here except that everyone gets priority again. So this is a time as an opponent when you often want to do things because you're now in your combat phase, meaning like if they were to bounce a creature to your hand, let's say, let's say you had a creature with an attack trigger and they don't want you to get that attack trigger. Do you know what I mean when I say attack trigger?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
There's attack triggers and there's combat damage triggers. So we're talking about
Hmm.
an attack trigger, which you're going to get regardless of if you hit or whatever. So
Yep.
this is time when opponent might want to bounce such a creature because then it's back in your hand, but you're in combat already. So you can't play that creature anymore. Even if it has haste, you're not going to be able to play it until after combat. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, Maze of Ith has this. The reason I bring this up is Maze of Ith has a really interesting trick where there's both a beginning of combat phase and an end of combat phase. It goes beginning of combat, declare attackers, declare blockers, end of combat. Now, end of combat, combat damage has already been done. So it is at this point that though the creature is still considered as attacking because you're still in combat, but it's already hit for damage, okay?
Hmm.
So what you can do if you wanted, like let's say you want to swing with Sauron because he's, a big attacker, right? 7 damage attacker, but you also
Hmm.
really need him back as blocks. You can swing with him, hit with him, and then untap him with Maze of Ith after combat damage has been done, but while he's still considered to be in combat. And then it's almost like he has vigilance.
Vigilance. Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
Excellent.
So that's not necessarily like the best play though, because you might as well just keep your Maze of Ith up and like
Hmm.
stop their attacker. But if their guy has hexproof or something and you can't target it, that might be an example of a time you might want to do that. And you never know. Stuff
Understood.
comes up all the time and you have to know the stuff to be able to know when it makes sense to do it.
Got it. It's like okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I
So
did not
does
know that
that,
card worked that way. Yeah.
yeah, it's
I,
not an easy card to like understand for sure.
but I see now how strong it is now. Yeah, that's a very
Yeah,
strong
and I
card.
would encourage you in your games to just remind your opponents that you have it because it
Hmm.
might just stop them from attacking you at all. And that's the
Exactly.
power of it. I
Excellent.
mean, it's
Yep.
really good anyway. So like even if they play properly, this some decks just can't deal with this card. Like imagine any like big equipment Voltron deck, like they just
Hmm.
can't deal with this because they're wanting to send a single threat at you. It gets around every protection, right? Because protection from white, red, black, whatever doesn't stop this. It's a land. It's colorless. So the only
Hmm.
thing that would stop is protection from colorless, which only I think one card gives, and hexproof. Hexproof is the one that will really get you with when you have a Maze of Ith. So watch out for
Understood.
that.
Yep.
Cool. Any other questions?
No, not, I think I have a firm grasp of the how the other cards function. I
Okay.
think now is just see how these new cards
Yep.
interact and what we're replacing.
Yep. So my thought was that we would spend the first 40 or so minutes going over the new cards and like the interactions, and then the second half of the time doing mulligan practices. Does that sound
Perfect.
good to you?
No, that
Okay.
sounds great. Yep.
So we're 15 minutes in now, so let's just spend 30 minutes looking at the changes. So this is my bracket 4 version. What I did to create this deck for you is I just duplicated this, and you can do this too, by the way, even if it's not your deck. You can just go in here, hit duplicate, and then rename it, make it your own.
Hmm.
So I did that, and then I started off. I'm not going to go through all of the way I found new cards for the deck because I think we talked about this ahead of time, and you want to spend less time on that and more about like how to play. But
Hmm.
essentially, like very quickly, I just removed all of the game changers first, and then I tried to decide which ones made the most sense for the deck. It's pretty tough. There's a lot of really good game changers in these colors,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
the deck had how many?
I think 10,
13.
13.
So, so we had to cut 10 game changers. But
Yep.
the good news is that leaves room for a lot of new cards. So that's cool. Okay, so the ones I went with in terms of game changers were the One Ring, because you gotta. It's the
Hmm.
Sauron. Come on.
Yep. Yeah.
And Demonic and
100%.
Vampiric Tutor, which are basically like duplicates of whatever the best card in your deck is. Vampiric Tutor is only 1 mana, and it puts it on top of your deck instead of into your hand. And then Demonic Tutor is the best tutor in the game. 2 mana, search for any card, put it into your hand. You don't take any damage. It's just very clean. So really the important thing to know is what we're doing when we draw these tutors. And there are other tutors in the deck too. So I want to talk about the overall game plan and like how you should expect games of this deck to play out. So I'd say, we're playing Sauron. The number one goal of this deck and kind of any deck that you're running the One Ring in is to find the One Ring and get it into play. Because the One Ring is so powerful and game altering that getting it out as soon as you can and just starting to draw tons and tons of cards is, it doesn't matter what else you have. It's such a powerful plan that I don't think I've lost a game where I had a One Ring with like 3 or 4 counters on it, because by the time it has 4 counters on it, how many cards have you drawn? Do you know?
Yeah. I mean, you're drawing the first one, then you're drawing the first from the burden counter, then you're drawing 2. So that's already 3 cards. Then you're on your third burden counter, that's already 6 cards.
Yeah.
If I'm doing my math right. And now on your fourth,
yeah,
I think it's 10 cards already.
That's right. So the 4th turn you have this out, you've drawn 10 cards from it, and you've only taken 6 damage, because the damage you take is always a turn behind because it happens in the beginning of your upkeep. So ultra powerful. If you're able to draw that many with it, it's hard to lose, right? Because you have so many options. And then, God help your opponents if you also have this land, which is Manamo School at Water's Edge. This is the Lord of the Rings version, but this can untap the ring and basically double the speed at which you do that. It's nuts.
Excellent.
So we, that's the number one thing, is like, let's find the One Ring. That should be your plan. And we have a lot of slots dedicated to that. I'm going to switch over to types and tags, and I'm going to show you all the ways that we have to look for the ring, because these are going to be very important to the game plan. So Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, these both usually will find the One Ring, but if you already have the ring, or you have another draw engine that's performing very well, and I'm playing not as many draw engines in this deck because we don't need them, because we want the ring. That is the best draw engine. But if you say had a Mystic Remora out, on a like mid-game turn, this card will also draw you a million cards. And in that case, if you drew a Vampiric or Demonic Tutor, you could probably deprioritize finding the One Ring in that case. Same if you had like a Black Market Connections, though. This is not going to draw you nearly as many cards. It's only 1 extra a turn. So I'd say like number one plan is get the ring. The other plan, the other primary thing that we want to be doing is finding Cabal Coffers and Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. This 2-land combination represents a ton of mana. So we talked about Urborg already. It makes everyone's lands swamps. But Cabal Coffers, aka Minas Morgul, the Lord of the Rings version, it costs 2 to activate, but it gives you a black for each swamp you control. So when you have Urborg out, all of your lands are swamps, including this one. So it counts all of them. So you need at least 4 lands in play for this to be mana positive, meaning once you have 4 lands in play and all 4 of them are swamps, it costs 2 to activate this, but it produces 4. So imagine if you have 4 lands out, and one option is you tap all 4 of your lands for black, right? And then you have 4 mana. But the other option is you tap 2 of your lands, activate this, make 4, and then tap your 4th land and make 5. So at 4 is where you start to go positive. At 3, it just breaks even, and there's literally no point to activate it then. But any higher, it starts to become better and better for you. So getting these 2... Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. When you say 4, do you mean 4 including Minas Morgul and Cabal Coffers, or 4? Okay.
4 total. Yeah.
4 total.
You only need 4 total lands in play, including those, for this to be mana positive. Does that make sense to you? Like, imagine you had 2 swamps, a Urborg, and this. You tap your 2 swamps, that activates this. It taps for a black for each swamp you control. You control 4 swamps. So, and then you have your herb board. You could still tap for black too.
Got it. Yep.
All right. So those are the two like priorities to do ASAP. Like, I mean, the other thing is you want to get Sauron out ASAP. This is not a commander that you want to wait to play. A lot of times, like if you watch some of my deck guides or have seen any of my other coaching videos, I'll advise being thoughtful about when you play your commander, not necessarily just running it out ASAP. But Sauron is unique because he cares about opponents casting spells. And, maybe we should talk about what he does, just because not everyone is across him. So he's 6 mana, 3 blue, black, and red for a 7/6 avatar horror. He's got ward, meaning in order to target him, you have to sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. So pretty yikes, a very hefty ward cost. Difficult to pay, but not impossible. Don't assume that opponents will never pay this. Good opponents will pay it all the time. Now, I've played this deck probably 100 times, and the number of times opponents will actually do it is like, 2% of the time or something. But, if your commander is like 1 or 2 mana, paying this cost is not that hefty, right? And there's just a lot of new legendary creatures in new sets. So it's becoming easier to actually pay this cost. The legendary artifact part, probably not, although there is stuff like Shadow Spear that people might just have lying around that is legendary, for example. And it's only 1 mana. So just, it's worth when you're reading the commanders at the beginning of the game, thinking about like, does anyone not care about this commander that much? Or sometimes like people are playing commanders where they want to be able to sacrifice it because it gets a lot of its value from its enters the battlefield ability, but they're not necessarily in colors that do a good job of sacrificing it. I, for example, have a Clive Ifrit's Dominant deck. It's a mono red deck. He's 6 mana. He comes in, he draws a bunch of cards, and then he can flip it. You could flip it to the other side, but that's expensive. Sometimes I just want to sacrifice him so I could replay him and draw a million cards again. So if you were playing against a commander like that, where you think like, it's possible this person might just want to sacrifice that, it might be worth knowing that in advance and thinking about how you use your removal based on that fact. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So his ward's hard to pay, though, is the point, which means you can feel safer running him out unprotected. One of the things we had to sacrifice when we cut all the game changers was the free counters, which is a bummer because this is a deck that really wants free counter spells like Fierce Guardianship, Force of Will. We're playing one that isn't a game changer, and that is Force of Negation. Okay.
Yep.
This requires you pitch a blue card and you can't use it on your turn. Well, you could cast it on your turn, but not for its free cost, right? So this is great to have in hand when you run out Sauron, because then you feel extra safe. You're like, okay, even if they are able to pay the ward cost, I just wreck them with a free counter. So, that's the dream if you have this when you run Sauron out. But normally, I think it's quite safe to get him out there as soon as possible. And really what we want to do is get him out on turn 4. That is like the absolute ideal. Now, is that going to be possible that often? Probably not. These are literally the worst colors for ramp. Grixis, blue, black, and red. The 3 worst colors for ramp. Green being the best and white being the second best, which are head and shoulders above the other 3. So this is a hard deck to get a lot of mana with, which is why we really want to prioritize finding Cabal Coffer's Urborg, because that's huge. That's like a disgusting amount of mana. And with a deck like this, and pretty much any commander deck of this year and modern, is like constrained on mana versus being constrained on cards or value or anything. You'll find that like most games, you're not able to use all the cards you have in your hand as long as you have a sufficient amount of draw in your deck. So we're running a lot of ramp, like 16 pieces. This is a high amount. Okay. The best ones to be able to get Sauron out ASAP are, believe it or not, a card that people kind of scoff at sometimes, but I think is quite good in this deck, Worn Power Stone. So obviously Soul Ring's the best, right? Soul Ring's 1 mana, make 2. this is 3 mana, make 2, and it comes in tapped. Like, what? Why would we play this when we could play Sol Ring? Well, we wouldn't, but we would play both, because what can you do with Worn Powerstone? You can play Sauron on turn 4, even if you don't have any other ramp, right? Because if you hit your first 4 land drops, and as long as your 4 lands can make at least 1 blue, black, and red, which ours can, we're playing a insanely expensive and efficient mana base, right? That can definitely make the colors that we need when we need it. And that means if we spend our entire turn 3 casting this, then when we untap on turn 4 and play our 4th land, we have access to 6 mana, which is what we need for Sauron. Okay? So Worn Powerstone, incredible in your opening hand, because it guarantees that you could play Sauron even if you have no other ramp. And there's one other card that does that as well. I mean, aside from Sol Ring does it. It's Coalition Relic. So this one's a little hard to understand. So, but it's really not that. I mean, when you read it, I think it's a little hard to understand, but it's actually not that confusing at all. So it has 2 tap abilities. So you can either make a mana with it, like just like a regular mana rock, or you can put a charge counter on it. And then when you go to your next turn, you untap and go to your first main, you remove all charge counters that are on it, and you add 1 mana for each one. So in effect, if you do this, so again, let's go back to the example where we played the Worn Powerstone on turn 3. Now imagine we played Coalition Relic on turn 3 instead. So this doesn't come in tapped, so we could tap it for a mana, but we could also tap it to put a charge counter on it. And then when we untap on turn 4, the charge counter comes off, we make 1, we play our land, we have 1 floating that the charge counter made, and then we can tap this for mana that turn and our 4 lands to make the 6 we need for Sauron. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So these 2 cards will enable a turn 4 Sauron with no other ramp. And we have a lot of other ramps. So in conjunction with some of these other cards, you could actually play a turn 3 Sauron, you know? And that's a way to win a game. Now, I wouldn't keep a hand if that is the only thing that you have to do. Though I might, you know, like it depends what else is in the hand and who you're up against. Really, the plan that you're going to want is going to depend on the opponents you're up against. And I don't need you to know what every commander does inherently, but I do need you to like be able to look at the commanders and have an idea, is this an aggressive deck for which I'm going to want to probably land one of our 6 board wipes first? And Mount Doom barely counts as a board wipe. You know, it's sort of a late game option, but like generally this is not going to be a board wipe. So we really only have 5, but 5 is a lot. You know, most decks I play run like 2 or 3. So 5 is a hefty number, but this is a control deck, you know, so, and the biggest the way you're going to lose with this deck is people outracing you. You know, you get people hitting you for a lot of damage early, and a lot, you know, we're playing black, we're playing the One Ring, we're playing Black Market Connections. A lot of our stuff does damage to us, and we don't have a ton of life gain to recover, right? We've got 5 sources. 3 of these are like aristocrat effects that are going to be pinging opponents every time we sack an orc. But in order to really get these online, we have to have Sauron out, we have to have a sack outlet out, which are the things we want to be doing. But like, it's sometimes some games are just tough, you know. If people blow up a mana rock that you had early, or just like counter Sauron, I'd say that's the biggest danger, is Sauron getting countered, because the ward doesn't help him then. So definitely be careful of that. I think, you know, an astute opponent will hold up a counter for your Sauron turn. So, and you know, if we're doing one of the plays like I described, like playing a Worn Powerstone on turn 3, if I saw an opponent do that and they're playing Sauron, I would not play. I would not make my play and hold up. I would hold up a counter and not make a play, because if Sauron gets in, then it's like, ooh, it's hard to deal with, right? You know, it can die to a board wipe though. So like, you have to be careful of that too, right? Like, you can run him out on turn 4 and then someone plays a blasphemous act and you're like, fuck. So, you know, plan for the worst and you'll never be disappointed, I'd say. Like, if you don't have to run him out, and an opponent's holding up a bunch of blue, or two opponents are, maybe just wait a turn and do something else instead. You can always develop one of your sack outlets first, because we're really going to need one of these to get going. Because let's finish talking about what Sauron does, because we didn't do that. So anytime an opponent casts a spell, we amass orcs 1. So if we don't have an orc army, we create one. It's a 0/0 creature, and it gets a +1 counter. If we do have one of those, then it just adds a +1 counter to the one we have. Now, the plan with my build of Sauron is that we never get a bigger orc, because what we want to do is just keep sacrificing the one we have. That way we keep amassing a new one, and we get like ultra value by doing that, either by burning everyone down with one of our aristocrat effects, and or making treasure, like depends what the sack outlet we have is, right? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unconditional ones, meaning you can do these as many times as you want in a turn. And then there are 2 Phyrexian Tower and Sephiroth that only can do it, like Sephiroth when he enters or attacks, and Phyrexian Tower is just once a turn as an option. So it's very important that we have one of these eventually. So it's nice to see one of these in your opening hand, but I'd say not absolutely essential, because what we can also do if we get Sauron out and we don't have a sack outlet is just amass orcs like normal, because you're going to get a, people have to play spells. They're playing Magic. So like, I'd say like the very least that you'll get in one turn cycle is like 1 per person. Like, but usually it's going to be like 5, 6, 7 spells that get cast before it's your turn again. And then if you have like a 7/7 or 8/8 orc army, we're not really leaning into these last 2 abilities, but they're here, and you shouldn't forget that they're here. And they're actually quite good sometimes, right? Because if you don't have a draw engine and you can hit someone with your orc army, and a lot of times you can get in with a 1/1. Like, people won't, you could send a 1/1 into someone's 6/6 commander, and they're going to be like, what are you doing? And they won't even like read the commander or realize that you're just trying to hit them so you can get the ring tempts you and discard your hand, draw 4. And they just won't block because they're worried you're going to do something nasty, And you could even like hint at something like that if you wanted. You'd be like, I don't know. I might have some ways to give death touch in this deck. Who knows? And like, who's going to block if you say something like that? You have to have balls of steel, and some people will, and whatever, you lost your 1/1 orc army. Who cares, right?
Not a big deal.
Yeah. So I guess that's it. Game plan is get a sack outlet, get a draw engine, ideally the One Ring, get Sauron out, land a board wipe before you play Sauron if you think it makes sense to do that. And after that, it's just a control game. Like, we're not rushing to win with this deck. This is a deck that is going to win just by you existing. Like, you're accruing so much value by having Sauron on the field, and then eventually having a sack outlet, and then eventually burning people, that like, I would highly encourage you not to make plays that like rush anything unless you feel like, you're in imminent danger of someone winning, because it just feels like that, or what they have or something. But typically this deck's going to just play the slow game, set up, and then start to just like slowly attrition everyone out of the game. Any questions you want to, I guess it's worth looking at. Did you look through the deck list at all before we started? Any questions on any particular cards? Go ahead.
The only thing I'm looking at right now is just to see where the reasoning between the changes. I followed the Mox field and compared it, and I saw that what we really changed was 12 cards. So I know with the 12 cards, obviously a lot of them are game changers and really good ones like Cyclonic Rift. But I want to see your reasoning as to why we're adding these new cards, and maybe how does that change our strategy or outlook. That makes sense.
Totally. Good question. And actually, I don't know if you ever watched my downgrade guide on Sauron, but one of the things I did when I made this video, so I had done this kind of like what you're requesting, taken my bracket 4 Sauron deck, which is very popular, as you can see. I think it's like the number one Moxfield Sauron deck, and it's deck people cite most often when they join the Discord as loving, which I get. Like it's perfect. It's my baby, and it like works so well. But you know, not everyone wants to play 13 game changers and like you know, $2,000 deck. So when I made this downgrade guide, my goal was to remove, I think I removed all of the game changers except for the One Ring, and I got the budget down to like $600. But one of the things I did in the process of that was take a look at like the types and tags, what we had in the initial list, and how to make it sort of comparable in terms of making sure that we replace what we add, because this is working, right? Like this deck was working. So tinkering with it, I wanted to make sure it had similar ratios, if that makes sense. So good question and good observation. I think let's look at the cards that we removed. So these ones are unique to the old list, the bracket 4 list. So Ancient Tomb, I really struggled with this. I actually was going to leave this in as one of the 3 game changers, but I just couldn't. I don't know. I figured like a lot of times we're looking for Cabal Coffers and Urborg. So if we were to spend time looking for this instead, it just wouldn't make a lot of sense. And something I added, for example, is like World Map from Final Fantasy. You know, sometimes you'll just need to sack this for 1 to find a basic, but be careful because I think the deck only has 1 basic. So mainly we want to use that 3 ability to find either Cabal Coffers or Urborg. And the deck already had Expedition Map, which I think is in both. So that's why I removed Ancient Tomb, although Ancient Tomb is incredibly good because it's the kind of card that can just get you ahead by an entire turn. But what I replaced it with was like Lotus Petal, for example, which is, you know, just a 1 mana ritual, basically. You use it and it's gone. But sometimes just getting Sauron out a turn earlier is crazy, right? Like it's so good that it's worth playing something that really, this is the kind of card that really emphasizes the importance of tempo versus value. So you're spending a whole card to just get a single mana. Compare that to a land, it's just like, oh, such bad value, right? But being able to accelerate something out by a single turn is huge. And then also Temple of the False God, a land that I think doesn't get a lot of respect from some people. I think it's very good. There are a lot of content creators out there that bag on this card, and there are going to be times where it screws you over. I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen, you know? But we're playing a bunch of land, like 39 land, including MDFCs, and we're playing Urborg, which is a priority to find. So both of those things make this a very good land, I'd say. Like, first of all, like as your 5th land with no other ramp, this lets you play Sauron a turn early, which is great. And then also if you have Urborg, it's turned on early. And I think in general, the value of this land is very good. And I would encourage you to play it in more decks, even like higher powered decks, especially ones that are looking to go a little bit more mid or late game. So I think this is a great replacement for Ancient Tomb. It's not perfect. Like you can't run it out on turn 1 to rush out a talisman or something, which is what makes Ancient Tomb so good, but it's still really good. What else did we cut? So Palantir, I only had this in as a like thematic because it's so like such an appropriate thematic card for the deck, but I really don't love this card, honestly. I feel like it underperforms pretty frequently. It's good once it gets going, but smart players will just have you mill the first 2, maybe even 3 times. And then it's like, okay, I played a 3 mana rock to mill a bunch of cards, never get to draw until it's got, once it has like 4 influence counters or more, people are always letting you draw because it's just too risky otherwise for them. But given that this deck doesn't want to mill, like we're not playing really any graveyard shenanigans. Like I have Reanimate in here and I have Agadeem's Awakening because it's a land / reanimate spell. But generally we're not looking to do graveyard stuff, so I think this is less important. Ripples, same thing. Actually don't, agree with having this in the bracket 4 deck, I might just remove it from there too. This, don't get me wrong, this card is incredible and I love it, and I play it in like every deck that cares about having stuff in the graveyard. But in this deck, we don't want to be paying that 3 life. So I think that's what put it on the chopping block for me. Force of Will is game changer. Like, I would love to have kept it, like I said, these two. But, and in fact, I was going to keep one of them, but I just decided that it would be better to have Vampiric and Demonic Tutor, because those will ensure that we find either Cabal Coffers, the One Ring, or, you know, whatever we need, a board wipe when we need it, whatever it is. And we do have one free counter in the deck, so we could always Vampiric Tutor for our free counter if we felt like we needed it. That being said, it could make sense, especially if you like these cards and or have them already, it could make sense to cut one of the tutors to play one of these two. And I couldn't decide which one I would even want to play between these two. I was leaning toward Force of Will because Fierce is good to protect Sauron, to protect yourself. Like I said, the biggest danger in this deck is that Sauron gets countered or that a board wipe happens right after you play him. So Fierce Guardianship helps with the board wipe happening right after you play him, but not with the counter of him when he's on the stack, because when he's on the stack, you don't control him. And therefore, this would not be free. So I think Force of Will is the better option if you decide to, you'd prefer to have one of these over one of the tutors. And if that's the case, I think you could very easily just make that swap. I would remove Vampiric Tutor and add Force of Will, for example, if you wanted to try something a little bit different or felt like you wanted a little bit more counter magic. Bowmasters, really good fit in the deck, obviously thematic, but it's just not as good as the other options, especially at bracket 3. It's less important, less people playing a ton of card draw, and it's just nowhere close to one of the best 3 game changers we could be playing in these colors. In terms of like what I replaced it with, this is a pretty hard one to replace because it's like kind of a unique effect, but Toxrill is a pretty good analog. Toxrill is a really nasty card. People are going to not be happy with you for playing it, but you encouraged like the full salt build, so I put in the full salt card. This card makes it like impossible for opponents to play the game. It puts a -1 counter on all of their creatures on every end step, not just on your end step. So it basically sits there and just wipes opponents' boards forever as long as it's out. And they retain those counters. They're not -1 counters, they're slime counters that act as -1 counters when Toxrill's in play. But if they remove him, then they will keep those slime counters, but the slime counters won't do anything, if that makes sense.
Understood. Yes, that was going to be a
Unless
question.
you like reanimate him and then they're reactivated. But yeah, this is a gross card that's going to just like win you some games by itself sometimes. You just get this out and opponents can't deal with it, and it's like game over. Same goes, by the way, for Dictative Erebos, which is still in the deck. It was in the deck and still is in the deck. This is like a Grave Pact, except it's got Flash. It says whenever a creature you control dies, everyone sacks a creature. So obviously our creatures are dying frequently, and this is a very, very powerful card. I'm getting my timer, so we're about halfway now. Mana Vault was a tough cut. This is like a Dark Ritual. It's 1 mana, it makes 3. It lets you play Sauron really early. It's a really good card, and it's possible that you might want to throw this back in for one of the tutors, but I think in general, like, we can just find something similar with one of the tutors. Field of the Dead, you don't need it. I had this in, this is a new game changer. It wasn't before. It deserves to be. It's a gross land. If you've ever watched my Glarb decks videos, like, you know how good this land is. More tutors cut. Psych Rift is hard to replace. It has a very unique effect, but we added more board wipes. I think that basically covers it. Any specific questions on these?
I don't. I think you answered all the questions. No, that's all the questions you answered yet.
Okay. Well, I think then we should just do some mulligan practice. What do you think? You ready?
100%. Yeah,
right, let's
100%.
do it. All right, gonna go to playtest. All right, so if you're watching, pause the video, decide if you would keep this hand or not, and why. Julio, when you're ready.
I mean, maybe this is just the new player in me still, but because I see the Soul Ring just sticking in front of me, but I think I definitely have to keep this hand.
Okay.
I see a clear play one, a turn one play, and I see a clear play two. The issue is I don't see how we're gonna get the one ring out, and that's priority number one.
Great. So, what is the problem with this hand, aside from that it can't get the one ring, or not aside from, but like, in other words, what problem does this hand have, or what's the danger of this hand, I guess?
I mean, the danger is that we have at least 2 turns of land guaranteed, and maybe a third with our expedition map.
Right.
The issue is that what if we don't get a land on turn 4 or anything, and we just keep on getting more creatures?
Yeah.
That's one issue.
Yep. So
maybe.
what I was thinking, yeah, I think that's a good one. We have a lot of land in this deck, so I think it's not unreasonable to assume that we're going to draw at least like one by the time we need our fourth land, because like this one guarantees our third, right? And I think we're running bounce lands. Let me just, actually, I don't know if we are. It's good to know, and it might be worth adding one. It's good to know that you have the option to find a bounce land when you have stuff like this, because that means it can guarantee that you're going to have a land drop for the following turn also. Yeah, I cut them. It might be worth adding one in, because what I mean by that is, let's say we use this, sack it, and get a Dimir Aqueduct. Do you know what the bounce lands are? I think we talked about them last time, right? Okay.
If you can refer, I know what shock lands are. I know that term, but bounce lands, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank
bounce land. No, it's okay. I don't think they're that popular, but I love them. I play them in like almost every deck. They're a land that enters tapped, which I normally despise, but I find these to be worth it. What they do is they enter tapped and they produce 2 mana. So Dimir Aqueduct makes black and blue, for example, but it comes in tapped, and when it enters, you have to return a land to your hand. So it's like negative tempo on your lands, but it makes 2, so it makes up for it. And then it also is like drawing a land because it returns one to your hand, right? So in a case like this where we need a land drop, it's a nice option to be able to find a bounce land, because you could just return a land we already used, and then you've got a land drop for the following turn too.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I think the danger of first of all, I think this is a keep, so I agree with you. But I think the danger of this hand, aside from not drawing lands, is that we don't have a draw engine, really. We've got a draw in Baleful Strix and a way to like keep us safe in the early game, which is great. And then we've got Sephiroth, which can draw us 1 when he enters, but we would need a creature to sacrifice. We could sack the Baleful Strix, but we kind of like him on defense. But it's an option, to have him enter. You get to draw another card with the Baleful Strix. So I think we have enough draws, and we have like a free look at one card with our Surveil here, that I think this hand probably gets there often enough. And turn 1 Soul Ring, so good, especially when we have a follow-up play. It's not the perfect follow-up play, but at least we have some value of the Soul Ring immediately. So I think this is a keep. It does have some risks, but I think it's got enough upside that it's worth not looking at a second 7, I would say. So let's play it out. So we're going to draw for turn, and then tell me what you're doing.
I'm going to first play, I think that's all the way on the left is a Misty Rainforest, or maybe I don't see it that well. Watery Grave. Yeah, I'll play the Watery Grave.
Hold on, let me see if I can zoom this. Is that easier?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is a shock land.
Yeah, I'll play the Watery Grave, shocking in a land.
Okay. So
don't know which one.
Before we talk about this, I just a quick question for you, and I want to remind you, because I think I said this last time, but I'm going to ask you questions, but I don't want you to think they have any implication. I just want to hear your thought process. So if I'm going to ask you, for example, like, what are your thoughts on playing the Undercity Sewers first as an option? And I'm not trying to imply that that's a better play, but I want to know what you think.
I mean, I don't think playing the sewers right now, because I really want to get ahead and get the tempo, so that way I'll get the Soul Ring out, tap it, and bring out the expedition map, so that way next turn I can, I can play. I don't know. I don't think the sewers right now for the surveil
Hmm.
is better than getting the Soul Ring out and expedition map.
I think you're right. I'm sure you're right, actually. However, I don't want you to um, neglect the power of a intentional slow play, especially when it involves not playing a turn one Soul Ring.
Hmm.
There's such a difference between a turn one and a turn two Soul Ring from a perception perspective and psychological, at least for me, and I'm pretty sure for everyone, that it's sometimes worth considering, especially when you don't have a lot to do with it. Like, let's say you had no obvious play this turn or
Yes.
next turn, but the hand was keepable anyway. Oftentimes in that situation, I'll just not play the Soul Ring turn one, even though I'm not doing anything else instead, even if I don't have a tap land. So it's something that I think is worth thinking about, but out, don't try to
I get
outsmart
it.
yourself and like go crazy
Yeah.
with weird psychological stuff that's hard to quantify anyway.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yes,
but
right
there
call.
is the point. There's a
Yeah,
point because then you have a target on your back now. Now everyone's like, "Oh,
exactly.
this
Especially
the
if you're
Soul Ring
playing
guy's
someone like
out."
me who's always bitching about Soul Ring, then like
And then the
anyway,
Sauron player too, like, "Oh, fuck this guy."
yeah,
He's
exactly.
worse.
It looks really bad. It's like instant arch enemy. But I think it's
Yeah.
fine, especially we drew a board wipe. Like this makes, we didn't even talk about this, but like this makes the turn one Soul Ring even better because
Hmm.
now we have the option to just Meat Hook Massacre for 2 next turn, which I
Hmm.
don't think we would want to do, but there are times you want to do that and just wipe a bunch of like, let's say all 3 opponents play an Esper Sentinel, You're just like, fuck
Yeah.
you guys, Meat Hook Massacre for 1, get wrecked. You can all draw.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so we're dropping Soul Ring, we're dropping map, and we're passing, right?
Yep.
We don't even have enough to crack map. Such a bad hand. All right, what now? And if we
Um,
need to go back and look at the lands that are options, we can, but
yeah,
I can
I
also
have it
just help
open.
you. Okay, good.
Yeah, I have it open here to the side. I think the first thing is put down the surveil land and see what we have coming up next.
Okay, are you
Um,
sure? Slow down before you play your lands, especially in any deck. Okay, and just map out your whole
okay.
turn.
Okay.
That could be the right play. I want you to think through it.
100%. Um, the other thing is before I even surveil, why don't I just crack the expedition map, look
Hmm.
for a specific color that I need.
Hmm.
In this case, maybe something else. So that way I already know, I have to shuffle either way,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I'm going somewhere with it. I just don't
Okay,
know right now.
that's okay. So let's talk through this. So what I mean, what are what are we doing this turn, or what are our options? We have a few options, right? Like we don't know what's on the board, so we don't know if we need to cast this, but I would say probably not. It's only turn 2. I think like if you're going last, then this is something that you might want to consider keeping
Hmm.
mana up for, because if you're going last, cards like this have extra value, especially if people are playing 3 mana commanders, because then you get to play this right before your turn, knock out everyone's like commander that they just played, and go into your turn 3 with an empty board. And that it feels hard to lose when that sort of thing happens. So that's something to consider, but we can't know if that's going to be appropriate in playtesting. So let's just ignore that as an option. The other thing is, I think in most situations we're wanting to crack the map here, right? At some point.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think if we had just dropped this surveil land like you wanted to do right at the beginning, and let's say we find a card on top that we really like, now it feels like we can't play crack the map, because if we do, we're going to shuffle it away,
Yeah, and we'll lose it.
right? So
100%.
I think like cracking the map here makes a lot of sense. And the other thing to think about is we have a great play here in Baleful Strix, but can we cast it right now?
Not right now. I mean, we
Right?
will. Does the expedition map, does the land enter tapped
Nope.
or
It
untapped?
goes to your hand.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Then that I think, yeah, we can't play the
So
surveil land, unfortunately.
Exactly. So like that's why I said slow down, make sure like you consider your turn before you play your land because I can't tell you how many times. And then like you either have to ask for a take back, which is annoying,
Yeah,
and if you've already surveilled, it's you can't take back then, right?
yeah,
Because
yep.
now you've seen new information. So I've done it a million times. That's the only reason I know to tell you is like don't rush playing your land because like I've made that mistake probably 1,000 times and it feels bad. But in another sense, like you have to make that mistake 1,000 times until you learn. So
Exactly. Yeah.
might as well just get it out of the way? Question mark. I don't know. All right, so we're cracking the map, right? I think. So we didn't talk about our other options, but I think like that's getting the Strix down makes the most sense here, and
Yeah.
it uses our mana very efficiently because what land are we getting?
Well, we need another def. We need either another blue or black. 100%.
Uh huh.
Probably
Uh
no.
huh.
We're gonna look for a specific land.
Yep.
Is expedition map is not a basic land, right? It's any
Nope.
type of land.
Any land.
Wha-
And what's our
Um,
plan?
we need Cabal Coffers and Minas
Bingo.
Morgul, no? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Minas Morgul is Cabal Coffers. The other one is the Dead
Is
Marshes slash
got
Urborg.
it.
So which one here?
We need not the one that you have to tap and it counts everything for
Correct.
mana, but the one that
Yes,
taps for and makes everything a swamp.
exactly. Always get Urborg first. Not always. Sometimes like you'll have 4 natural swamps out. Very unlikely, but it could happen. And then sometimes it makes sense to get the other one, but that will be rare. Okay, so we're gonna crack the map. We're gonna get the Dead Marshes. I guess it's called Urborg in this list. Thought I had renamed it. Are we testing on the right deck? We are. Oh, it is. How come it didn't work when I typed that? Anyway, whatever. So that goes to our hand, and then
Hmm.
this is tapped. Then we're playing it, right?
Yep.
And then we drop the Strix.
Yep.
The other
Strong
option
card.
was we could have paid 3 and like developed Phyrexian Altar. That could be a thing, and then we could play the Surveil land. That could make sense, especially if the Strix, you don't need it right now for defense. Like,
Yeah.
but I think this uses our mana the most effectively. It uses all 4 of our mana. The only problem with this play is it like leaves us with a tap land next turn, but we don't have enough for Sauron next turn anyway, so I think this is totally fine. So we're drawing a card on ETB. Do
Yep.
you know what Urza Saga does? Do you
Yes, I do.
understand this card? Okay, good.
It's really good.
Right, indeed. Next turn. All right. What do?
I mean, we have to play a land for turn. Um, the issue is that let me see how many 1 mana rocks we have that are worth bringing out
This.
because go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, with Urza Saga?
Yeah, I'm thinking like future, like turn 3. We already put down our soul ring,
Yep.
so I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. Good point. So, we have a lot of good things to find. We've actually used 2 of them already, which sucks because the
Ex
expedition map too. But there's
exactly.
there's at least another few, right? There's Shadow Spear is really good in this deck because giving Sauron +1 trample and lifelink is like
Mhm.
really devastating. And then we've got the world map, which is like expedition map, but a little bit worse. It costs 1 more mana to use. So this would be an option to find the other piece of the puzzle for the lands. And we could
Got it.
also
100%.
get Lotus Petal if we just needed a burst that turn.
Yeah.
So
I
a
mean,
lot of
in
good
this,
choices.
I think in this case, I'm looking at what we have in hand,
Good.
and I think maybe it's worth putting the Urza Saga so it can tap for another black,
So let's work
pushing us.
backwards.
Okay.
So what are what's our like game plan? Like what are we trying to do ASAP?
I mean, we're trying to look for the One Ring. We
What
already have the
else?
death. We already have the Dead Marshes, so maybe Cabal Coffers, definitely.
Yeah, one other thing that's central to the deck.
We have to bring out Sauron.
Bingo. So can we
Yeah.
play Sauron this turn? Is there any
No.
way? No. Okay. So can we play Sauron next turn?
Um, we'll have 3. We're we're lacking red. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have a red source.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So
Good observation. Okay.
I don't think unless there's something I'm not seeing here, I don't see how we're gonna generate a yeah, sacrifice. Yeah, you're right. 100%.
Hmm.
I did it. So yeah,
We can
put
also, like a surveil land means that we have two chances to find a red source, right? We can put
yep,
one into the graveyard if it's not, and then we get a natural draw. And a lot of our lands make red, right? All the fetch
yep.
lands. Let's look at if you scroll down, it tells you 10, but then this doesn't count the fetch lands. So then there's another 9 fetch lands. So we have 19 draws at lands that make red.
Got it.
So that's about, a fifth of the deck. So looking 2 cards deep, it's pretty likely we find one. But we can always
Hmm.
start with this, see if we need to play that. And if not, we can, I think we play this. It's tough because you want to develop Urza Saga as soon as possible. That's usually like a good plan. But something to think about is Urza Saga has a second ability, which is to make the Karn Structs, they're called, right?
Hmm.
It can't do that until the second turn you have it out. But it's actually quite powerful because it can make up to 2 of those. If you make one on turn 2 when it gains its Chapter 2 ability, and then you can also make one before it's sacrificed on turn 3. So we actually have a pretty artifact heavy hand here. We've got 2 artifacts in hand and 2 in play already. The
Yep.
bird's an artifact too, right? So that
Hmm.
means if we play all those 2 plus these 2, then the first construct's a 5/5 and the second one makes them both 6/6s.
Yep.
So that's definitely something to keep in mind because this land is very powerful for many reasons. And then it sacks and finds another artifact even, right? So it gets
Yep.
those guys get even bigger.
Yep. It does.
Anyway, I still think that the surveil land makes the most sense here because we want to find a red source. We don't want to have to sack a creature to pay for Sauron. That's like not the way to play him. But,
Hmm.
at least we have an expendable creature to do that if we need to. So I think we
Yeah.
start with the surveil. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right, so let's drop that. We'll look. It's a blasphemous act. Do we want to keep that on top or graveyard it? We don't know what's on the
I think
board, so it's hard to say, but go ahead.
yeah. I mean, we have a Meat Hood Massacre.
Yep.
That's one of them, and then we also have another way of removal with I think the Sherold's Edict or whatever.
Shieldred, yeah.
Shieldred's Edict. So I
Yeah,
don't think it's worth keeping it, unfortunately.
definitely.
Great card though.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's fine. And we have Snapcaster Mage, so we can always cast
Yep.
this later.
Yep.
Okay. So now we don't know what's on top. So now what do we do? If we had found a red land, the answer here might be different, right? Because I don't think we
Yep.
want to rush out Altar. Although Altar's pretty good setup play for Sauron because it's nice to have a sack outlet, but we don't have any benefit to sacking creatures yet. So it's not like sacking a creature every time someone casts a spell makes a ton of sense here. But we do have a 2 mana instant, so it is nice to have. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yes, it
So
does.
we've got 4 mana. We've got really only 3 options. I guess Meat Hook's an option if it made any sense given the board state. But we either play Sephiroth, sack Baleful Strix, or not.
Yep.
Or we play Altars, which sets us up for Sauron, or we play Crowded Crypt and hope to high roll into the red source.
Yep.
Or actually, like, can't if we don't draw red, is it possible that we play Altar and Sauron next turn? I guess it's worth considering. Like, let's say we drop this Mana Rock now, and then we untap. We have a land. So we play this land. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Hmm.
3 of it goes to this, and then we're 1 short.
Yep.
But it's worth doing that calculation, I think. So really,
Yeah.
like, there's
100.
only one option here, right? Which
Yeah.
is,
I think we have to bring out the altar now
yep,
to guarantee at least Sauron
I
coming
think
out
so.
turn 3, turn
I
4.
think, yeah, I think so. And then the nice thing about this is if we absolutely have to, we have 2 mana potentially up to cast Shieldred's Edict if something dire were happening.
Yep.
But we don't want to
100%.
do that if possible. All
Yeah.
right. Next turn. Come on, red land. Nope.
I
We're
mean,
drawing we're
we're
drawing all these ways to find Soul Ring.
exactly.
Never always
I already have
punished.
solar.
I mean, Trinket Mage
But
can get us Lotus Petal though, so that
yep,
is a thing. Does that get us there? No, right? It's the same problem as we described last turn with the altar.
yeah, we're gonna have to sack the Strix one way or the other if we want to bring out Sauron,
Yep. Or
or yeah, be, you know, the
you know,
other thing I'm thinking.
Trinket Mage is interesting because it can find world map, which can find the coffers. So
Yes, as
that,
well.
yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
You're good. I mean, it's. I think this is a tough question because we don't know how the opponents would be. If everyone's extremely slow right now,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe if the game is so slow right now and there's a lot of open mana, maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's not well just to go full send and send out Sauron because I don't know if an opponent is going to go ahead and immediately counter it and I don't have any response.
Great answer. I'm
That's
really
what.
glad you said that. I think that makes a ton of sense. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. So good call. Don't run Sauron out here into like a field full of blue mana because like
Yeah.
that is such a bad. I mean, thankfully, like we have a great hand here with a lot of gas and like things to do, so we could still recover from that if it happened. But I think the payoff is not even that good. We don't have it you know, we don't have an urgent need to have Sauron out here. We've got a
Yep.
really nice blocker, and sacrificing it is not great either. This card's so good because you really don't want to just throw it away because this like prevents so much damage to you, and it's hard to know how much it's doing, but opponents are never swinging into this, you know? They just won't. It's a flying death touch. Like no one's attacking into this, and no one's spending removal on it either because it's already got its value when it came in. This is the kind of card that like will quietly win you a game without you even realizing. So I think sacrificing it is dangerous too. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, anyway, I think we'll just start a new hand at this point because this hand's hard to know. It's going to
Yep.
be very board state dependent, but I think you made very good decisions here and that was great. Anything before we move on to the next hand?
Nope. Nope. You got
Okay,
it.
cool. All right. What do you think?
I think this is again very similar to the other hand in that we have a lot of great early choices to make. We can take out, for example, I'm just thinking out loud, put
Mm-hmm.
Urza Saga or put the other fetch land, pay the one, and get a definitive, a dual land or something, and
Mm-hmm.
immediately just put the expedition map. That's one thing. The
Mm-hmm.
issue is with this turn is I don't see a way to get Soul Ring, or that's one issue. I mean, no, I'm sorry, the One Ring, not the
Mm-hmm.
Soul Ring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's one issue that I'm looking at. But
Yep.
I think this
Do
is
we
a
have
good
any
hand.
card draw?
We don't have any draw engine.
We kind of do, right? This is
Yeah.
not exactly a draw engine, but it will draw you a decent amount of cards if it survives. But that's
Yeah.
very like long term, right? This is a 7-drop, and then you have to pay 2 for each draw. It's slow, but it is something, right? How
hmm
quickly does I guess how familiar have you played Urza Saga before? Like actually?
Yeah, I've played Urza Saga with the previous bracket 4 Sauron deck, and I have it in a
Okay.
couple other decks as well.
So with just what we have here, can we play Sauron on turn 3, for example?
Um, I think it'd be very close. Yeah, we'll play.
Let's say we draw like one land. I
hmm
think we can. So if we start with Saga, it starts on 1 counter, right? Um,
Yep.
we play the map, sure. Then we go to our next turn, we draw something. We play this, and do we crack the map here?
I think wait, either crack the map or play the talisman.
Which
But
one? Pretend like we're definitely going to draw a land by next turn. We either drew a land this turn. I didn't look yet, but we either drew a land this turn or we're going to draw one next turn.
And
So
the
let's
question is
not crack
either.
the map because we're trying to play Sauron on turn 3. So like if we play
Yeah.
the Talisman, then go to our next turn, we're untapping. Saga is going to be sacrificed, right? What do we do
Hmm.
before it gets sacrificed?
We're tapping it for a mana, floating one.
Exactly. Yep. So we'll
Yeah.
float one. It gets sacrificed. We have a Soul Ring now. Soul Ring
Hmm.
taps for 2 colorless, and then we tap for a red, a blue, and a black with the land that we have. That's turn 3 Sauron, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Now,
the math is right.
exactly, and that's with no cards drawn except the assumption that we will draw 1 land in 3 turns, which I think is pretty reasonable given that we have 39 land. Now, is that better than the best hand?
Say the question
No.
again.
I said, is that better than like the best hand we could find?
No, no.
No, but it's pretty damn good. A turn 3 Sauron is like pretty yikes for opponents.
Yep.
And then we have one of the best sack outlets in the deck and the best payoff in the deck.
Yep.
This hand is insane. Like, that's assuming everything goes right, you know?
Yeah.
But the chances of opponents dealing with the turn 3 Sauron, either when it's coming down or once it's in play, is pretty low because they're not going to be expecting it. I mean, they should be. They could see it all coming. They see the
Hmm.
Saga turn 1. Any smart opponent's going to know, like, especially when you play Talisman 2, they're going to be like, oh shit, he could play Sauron next turn. Now, the number of opponents who will actually realize that and like do something about it, very low. I don't know if I would even like be realizing that because
Hmm.
it's hard to see, right? This is all you have on
Yep.
turn 2. Does this look like you could play a 6 mana commander next turn?
No, not
No.
even close.
But that's why this land is so nasty. It's like, what the hell? It not only gets you a soul ring, but it makes a mana itself. So this is like a burst of 3 mana the turn it pops. And that's what's so busted about it. And then even if we draw nothing else, this hand could win us the game by itself with literally drawing not. If we drew no cards the whole game, it would be
Yep.
hard to beat this hand because we have something really strong at the top end to play, and we have a way to get there with
Creating treasure tokens.
the sack
Yeah.
outlet. Every time an opponent casts a spell, we're making a treasure, and we're dealing 2 damage to every player.
Hmm.
Disgusting
100%.
hand.
Yeah.
It's disruptible, but this is the kind of hand you roll the dice on and just like you might
Yeah.
just fucking roll everyone.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
that's like who
100%.
knows what we're gonna draw, you know? Like
Yeah.
so I don't even think we need to play this out. I guess we can look at our draws. Yeah, so we got our land, we got another sack outlet as backup, we got another payoff. This hand looks really good. So think through the first few turns because sometimes you'll see lines like this and be like, oh my god, this hand is way better than it appears. And you have to understand based on, and this is something that will come with time, but you have to understand based on the number of lands you're running, and you can look it up too, like hypergeometric calculator can tell you like what your percentage chance is of drawing a land in however many turns based on however many cards you have in the deck and the number of lands you have. So you could always look that up if you needed to, but you'll get a feel for it naturally over time.
Excellent.
All right. What do you think about this hand? Don't rush your decision here. And this one might require some coaching, so to speak. If you, I'm not saying this is necessarily a keep, but I shouldn't have said anything. Say what you want to say without ignore what I said. What would you have said if I had said
The
nothing?
first thing I'm looking at is to see what the land cycling cost is for Lorien, and I'm looking
Good.
at it's a 1.
Yep.
That's the first thing that's in my question right now.
Okay. What's your question?
No, that's the first thing
Yeah.
in my head because I
Good.
do think this is a I see the vision,
Mm-hmm.
but I just because I do see the possibility of taking out a black market connections extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the part where Okay, so
So before we move forward, do you
yeah,
100% know what this ability does?
land cycling, island cycling. The way I understand it is, in this case, is for to me to island cycle, I have to discard Lorien revealed and
Hmm.
discard an additional card in order for me to bring an island to my hand.
From
Maybe
where?
I'm wrong. From the library.
You're almost right. You don't have to discard an additional card. You only have to discard this card.
Okay,
So
excellent.
cycling means, just cycling by itself means discard to draw one. Land
Okay,
cycling, in this case island cycling, means pay that cost, so one, discard this, and find any island from your deck. Now, it's not basic island, it's any
any
island.
island.
Like we talked about last time, this can find our shock lands, any color we need, basically. So this represents any color of mana, but it costs us one.
Okay.
So knowing that, again, let's pretend like we don't know what we're going to draw. How could this hand play out in the first 3 turns? So just walk me through the
What
first 3 turns with only what we have here.
the line I'm thinking of is play Urza's Cave,
Yep.
tap the Urza's Cave
Mm-hmm.
to activate the island cycling.
Yep. So we're
Um,
getting some sort of
yep,
like, now this is a what color, what land are we getting? Like what colors? Don't worry about the names.
blue
We're
black.
getting blue black. Yep. Okay. So
Yep,
next turn we untap. We have this blue black land, right? We're playing it
yep,
because it's our only land. And now
yep.
what?
I'm thinking demonic tutoring and finding the One Ring, maybe, or tapping both of them for a nice Night's Whisper.
Okay. So if we demonic tutor for the One Ring, what are we doing next turn?
Night's Whispering.
Yeah. So does it make sense to cast Demonic Tutor for the One Ring first?
Not for now because we don't know if we're gonna draw it first. I think.
Exactly. Like, what if we drew into
Yeah,
it with Night's Whisper? And what do we
exactly.
need more than the One Ring right now?
Mana.
Yeah.
I think.
So, like, I think the options are not Demonic Tutor for the One Ring, but Demonic Tutor for Urborg,
Yep.
right? So that's one option. That way we have that to play next turn and we could guarantee black market connections. But I
Hmm.
think the best play is Night's Whisper because then we have 3 chances at drawing a land. The 2 we get from this and then the one next turn.
100%.
Does that make sense? So like
Yep.
this is the very, very conservative play, which will guarantee that we get the black market connections. But I think this is the best play. Like
Yeah.
it could screw
And again,
you. You can draw 3 non-land and then you're like, fuck, I wish I had played Demonic Tutor instead. But the chances of that are very low.
hmm
And then we
so
could always
yeah,
also draw propaganda if like the board is very hostile.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you were saying?
No, I think you're 100% right. I think the decision between demonic tutoring and Night's Whisper, it's again to see how the board state is and how aggressive
Yeah.
people are.
Yeah.
If if the table's friendly, then I
Mm-hmm.
might as well I would risk it for the Night's
Mm-hmm.
Whisper.
Mm-hmm.
If the table is non-friendly, then I'd be more inclined to demonic tutoring one of those special lands, the one that turns everything to a swamp, just so I can, further guarantee my black
Yeah.
market connections.
I don't know if I'd
Maybe.
ever cast this. Like it, no matter what the board looks like. I think
Yeah.
like this, playing this card right now is like it's just it's too safe, like in a bad way.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
think you have to trust your deck a little bit, and like there's never going to be as good a time to play this as on turn 2 when you have like nothing else going on. Like
Yep.
this, even if we draw 3 non-lands, that's not really that bad because I mean it's pretty bad. It sucks. We can't make a turn 3 play that we wanted to, but then we just demonic tutor for Urborg. We have the Urza's Cave
Exactly.
to find the other piece later, and we have stuff to do, and we've drawn 3 non-lands, and there's value to that too because non-lands are good. It means like they're cards that do something. So
Yep.
I think Night's Whisper is definitely the way to go here. Just like roll the dice, see what happens. Uh-oh. Okay, so it's fine. We'll get there on the third one. Nope.
Yep.
And it happened. Still think it was the
Not a
right
big deal.
play. Not a big
Yeah.
deal. Let's go to a new hand unless you want to continue this one at
Nope.
all.
Nope. New hand is fine.
I think that was the right decision, and I wouldn't look back and say I wish I should have done that, because you made the right call, and don't be results oriented with your decisions. All right. What do you think about this one? Man, I mean, like, I don't know if this is a keep, but you're drawing some good hands. This deck
Yeah.
looks good.
But I'm excited to play. I just need to get the
uh,
extra cards. Um,
do you know what
I
Tezzeret
think
does?
I'm reading him right now for
Okay,
his.
so you can read it later. It's a
Yeah,
trinket mage.
got it. Okay.
It finds a 1 or 0 mana artifact. So it's going to, the 95% of the time you're going to play him, get Soul Ring, and then you don't care if he lives.
Yeah,
You're going to -3,
exactly
get Soul Ring, and that's it.
like the other Tezzeret where I'm just going to -4 him and look
Bingo.
for the One Ring and put it onto the
Bingo.
battlefield. So it's
Exactly.
the same. Okay. He plays
Yeah.
the same way.
And if you
I mean,
untap with him, it's great because his 0 is actually pretty good. It lets you use Soul Ring twice, or like untap the 1 ring and use it twice. So it's like, it's pretty good. The -7 is
God,
useless. Can't. Wow, I just realized.
I don't
Oh,
even
when an
know. I don't know
artifact
how we're gonna
enters, he
get.
gets loyalty. Okay, I forgot about
Okay.
that first ability.
I think this is, and here's where I'm maybe a little greedy. I do
Mm-hmm.
think this is a good hand,
Mm-hmm.
but can we get a better hand where I see a clear, turn two play where I'm not just casting Demonic Tutor,
Mm-hmm.
where we have such other good cards like Mystic, like the Remora
Mm-hmm.
for example, where we
Mm-hmm.
have, I don't know. I think that this is a good hand. Maybe maybe I'm just blind to it, but I do think that maybe just being a little bit greedy. I don't know. I
Uh,
honest in a game, maybe
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't keep this hand, to be honest with you. And maybe that's just my lack of
uh,
knowledge.
it's really close. I think you're on the right track. I think I would keep this. I I I mean, how much real question is how much mana will we have access to on the turn after we play Tezzeret? Because we're either playing Dak, Faden, or Tezzeret on turn 3. If opponent has a
Hmm.
Soul Ring, then we're playing Dak because we just take
Yep.
theirs. And then we got a free Soul Ring and we destroyed a Soul Ring, right? So that's very powerful. But otherwise, we're playing Tezzeret on turn 3, and then we have to cast our Soul Ring the following turn. Meaning, assuming we draw land, which I think is, again, fair to assume in like 3 or 4 draws, then we're going to have 4 mana from our lands. We use one of them to cast Soul Ring, and then we have access to 5 in total. Meaning, if we Demonic Tutor for the One Ring at that point, we're 1 short of playing it. So
Hmm.
we get there with Dak, but not with Tezzeret. Do you see this?
Yeah.
So if we knew an opponent had a turn 1 Soul Ring, because they're blabbing about it, because opponents do that, right?
Hmm.
Then you definitely keep this hand because you can like
Yes.
use that data and wreck them. Now, if we don't know that, then this hand's still. Mm, let's go with your decision and toss it. I think, like, I could go either way. There's some other lines we have with Tutor. Like, we could find a board wipe if we need it. But we have a board wipe, so I don't know. Like, this is a slow hand. If you're against a bunch of mid-range decks, maybe keep it, because then you could just, like, plan to play Blasphemous Edict on turn 4. Like,
Yeah.
you get Soul Ring with Tezzeret, and then you've got 5 mana the following turn after we play Soul Ring. We just Edict. And
Okay.
then the following turn, we play Tutor into Ring, or we play Sauron. That's actually,
Hmm.
like, seems pretty strong to me. The Edict turn 4 plan into Sauron turn 5, or into the
Yep.
Ring turn 5. Um, Another consideration is if opponents are playing an artifact deck or a deck that's likely to have some artifacts, this is extra good.
Hmm.
Let's just toss it though and see what happens. So this is our second 7.
I mean, I think. What's the blue card for 1 mana I can't. I see the art. I don't see the name.
Can you see it now?
Brainstorm. Draw 3 cards. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a significantly better hand.
Agreed.
I think we have the dead marshes, so that's already 50% of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
We're just missing the other one.
Yeah.
Bajuka Bog, it's a great one,
It's actually
honestly.
really bad to have in your opening hand because like it comes in tapped. It's not going to do that
Correct.
much early. So like that, this is the only downside of this hand, I would say, is that this
Yeah.
land is here.
But at least we have a clear, well, not, we do have a turn one play where we
Okay.
can put down our shock land,
So
search for a,
are you
go
keeping
ahead,
this?
sorry.
But versus sorry to rush. We only have like 5 minutes left, so I want to
Yeah.
are you keep? I think this is a keep, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
100%.
So especially versus going to 6, this hand looks really good. So let's just play it out.
Yep.
So we're drawing. Okay, this is a land if we need it on the other side. It
Yep.
comes in untapped as a black land for
Hmm.
3 life. Okay. This
Hmm.
is, by the way, another reason to play the bounce lands I was talking about, because you can play this early, and then when you need it for its spell side later, you just bounce it back to your hand. I will definitely
Got it.
add 1 bounce land to this list for you and take something out because I think it's worth it.
Got it.
Another nice thing before I forget is that with a bounce land, the bad thing about a bounce land is like, let's say this Bojuka Bog's a bounce land. We play this land turn 1, right? We draw. We play
Hmm.
this turn 2. We return this to hand. We have 8 cards in hand now. We have to discard 1.
Yep.
That's not
That's
always
awesome. Yep.
bad. We're running Reanimate, 1
Hmm.
mana. If we drop a Toxrill into our graveyard, all of a sudden you're pretty happy to have had max hand size at that point.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay,
100%.
so keep that in mind. All right, so forget that. What are we doing here? This is a tough play,
Yeah.
so think about this.
Okay.
I want to
mean,
tell you one thing, but I want you to have all the info too, because I don't know if you are that familiar with Brainstorm. This is a classic card, by the way. It's from like one of the first Magic expansions ever. Then not this version, but the card itself. Very deceptive card. It can be ultra powerful or really bad, depending on how you play it. So if you just draw 3 and put 2 back on top, and then you draw those on future turns, that's not the way to play Brainstorm. The way to play it is you put your 2 worst cards back, or you put a card that like you care about having on top for some reason. This is more advanced, but there are some decks that care about what's on top because they could play off the top, or there's cards
mhm.
with Miracle, where if you draw them as your first card for the turn, you get to play it for cheaper. That's one way to play this. But in this deck, what you're wanting to do is put your 2 worst cards back that you don't need for that given situation, and then crack your fetch land and shuffle them away.
Okay.
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 Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily what you want to be doing here, but that's typically how you want to play this card. And we have a lot of fetch lands and other shuffle effects, like tutors. So try to save your Brainstorm for when you have one of those to follow it up with.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I think we do have to play the fetch land. I think so. Search
Okay.
for a black blue
Mm-hmm.
card.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which
and
black
given
blue?
that, um,
Don't worry about the names, just like a shock land, a surveil land.
no, I think here's the thing. Just with that, I don't know if it's worth getting a shock land because I don't know if it's worth to turn 1 immediately just brainstorm. Um, if it is, then yeah. If it's not, I think we do get a surveil land and
Well,
just
what did
look.
I just say about Brainstorm? Like, don't. It's almost never worth doing that because
Okay.
if you're gonna draw one of the 2 cards that you put back, I wouldn't play it unless you're like desperate to find a land. Sometimes you'll need to play it because like you really need to find a land. But like locking yourself into those draws is not the way to go. Now, we're not fully locked, right? We're going to be able to play
Mhm.
Demonic Tutor next turn, shuffle away at least one of them, right?
Okay.
Because let's
Hmm.
say we play this now. We draw 3, we put 2 on top. We go to our next turn. We can't stop from drawing one of them, right?
Hmm.
But we can
Yep.
stop from drawing the second one because we could Demonic Tutor at that point, right?
Yep.
But still, if you're ever going to draw, try to make this a rule. It's not always going to work, and sometimes you just have to play this card. But like, if you can avoid ever drawing the 2 cards you put back, that's the way to win with Brainstorm. Okay, so
Yep.
I think I don't agree that is the correct play. So what else can we do right now? I think there's a clear correct play here. It's pretty hard to see, I think, but I think you could get there. What do we want to do next turn? Ideally, like what's a great play next turn, and any turn too.
I mean, I'd say look for some type of. We have so many cheap artifacts.
No,
you know,
what do we have in hand? Like what's our best turn 2 play of what we have here?
Strix turn 2.
Right.
Baleful. Yeah.
This is the best turn 2 play. Like, I mean, Talisman's great too, but like getting a Strix down on turn 2, it feels amazing. No one can attack you. You get to draw a card right away. You're going to be like in love with this card if you've never played it before. It feels amazing because like it's like a propaganda plus you drew a card. You never attack with it ever. Don't even think about it. Like, I guess if no one has any creatures, you could think about it, but like I would still probably keep it back just for haste creatures.
Just one.
Yeah, you know, 1 damage, you should get the 1 in when you can usually, but I think there's value in having this up. You know, especially if you're against red decks or something. So how do we like ensure that we could play this next turn? What do we play right now?
We need a source of blue.
Sure. Okay. So you would pay the fetch land to get the blue, and
I'd pay the fetch land to get a blue and surveil. I don't think there doesn't make. I don't see why I would get a shock, take 2 for no good reason, where I can get more knowledge from the surveil. You know.
I think that's fine, but what I would do here, actually, like, believe it or not, is play Bojuka Bog, because, like, you know, this is in a way, like, and I want you to think abstractly here for a second, like, this is a turn 1 play in a way, right? Now, it's not good. I'm not saying like the graveyard effect is going to do anything, but like getting a tapped land down is a turn 1 is a play on turn 1, because it you know, effectively costs you a mana to get this into play, right? Because the opportunity cost of running this land is that I could be running just a swamp instead. So getting it out of the way has value. And then if we draw a blue source naturally next turn, great. But if not, we can just pay 2 life and get 1 next turn, right? So it's, you know, we're losing the opportunity to get a surveil land. So I think there's value in that. But, you know, we've got OG dual lands in this deck too. So we don't even have to get a shock land. We can get a Underground Sea. Right? And
I 100% agree. The only reason I wasn't thinking of Bojuka Bog is if I see a commander that heavily relies on using the graveyard, I was just thinking, let me just
great
keep
point.
this and punish him.
You know, if so, like, that could be the right play. And we've got 1, 2, potentially 3 other lands. So it is like a very good thing to consider holding this. But knowing, especially that I'm going to be adding a bounce land, another value to the bounce lands is that you can reset the Bojuka Bog when you need it. And we've got ways 100%. To find those bounce lands, right? We can use Urza's Cave to get it, use World Map, use Expedition Map. That way, anytime you're like, oh, that graveyard player's popping off, you just go get your bounce land, boom,
100%.
Play that. It's a little slow because they'll see it coming, except with Urza's Cave. Urza's Cave is the best because that tutors a land directly into play. And then you could do that on end step right before your turn, and or even on your turn, and then play this as your natural land drop. So anyway, like, small thing, I think getting the surveil land here is a valid play too, because like that lets you see 1 more card. But since we know what we want to play next turn and we have land, I think I like playing this better.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Makes
next
sense.
Turn. So now we have to grab the Underground Sea. And I think like always play not always, but like almost always play the Baleful Strix here versus Demonic Tutor.
Yeah.
You know, hold off on playing the tutors as long as you can, because the more you draw, the more info you'll have to decide what to tutor for. Because like tutoring for the ring here, thankfully with Demonic Tutor, opponents don't see it, and same with the Vampiric Tutor. But if you're playing like Enlightened Tutor in a different deck, definitely wait to as long as you can to cast it, because otherwise they're going to know what's coming, and like if you did it early, they could start planning for it.
Exactly. Or punish me and make me mill a top card or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So we draw, and then nothing else to do this turn. All right. Turn 3. So let's say Dak Vaden is not going to do anything here. Or not going to immediately be able to steal anything good.
Yeah. I do think
if he is... Okay, so give me both situations. So let's say opponent has an Arcane Signet, scenario 1. And scenario 2, no opponents have any artifacts.
If an opponent does have a worthwhile artifact, then I think it is completely it's worth it to take out Dak Vaden. I'll play a command tower because I'm missing red, and that's the just to generate that.
Yep.
And play Dak Vaden, immediately just -2 him, get the artifact. If that's
even
not
if
the
it's
case,
like an Arcane Signet, let's say it's a let's say it's an off-color signet, like a white-green talisman.
I do think it's still worth it because I'm still going to get a one step closer to having Sauron on turn.
Definitely. Yeah. Good call. Yeah. Tough question, and I'm impressed.
So if there's any way to generate mana on the board and I can seal it with Dak, I think that's the play.
Yeah.
If it's not, then I'll still I'm debating whether okay. If Dak's not the way, then maybe taking, I don't know if it's worth playing the Reaver Cleaver.
Do you ever run Dak out without something to steal?
For the 1 cost, draw 2 and then discard 2. Yeah. That's another
you might
option,
do that.
I think.
I think that I would have to be very desperate before I did that.
Okay.
Try not to do that. He has so much value in his -2 that like the only way I would do that is if I was about to miss a land drop and he was the only way I had to draw cards, because it's not worth missing a land drop. If you could play him and draw into a land with his +1, it's like kind of the same as stealing a talisman, right? Because like you're making a land drop when you wouldn't have. But if you're playing him just because you have nothing, like even if we had no other turn 3 play, I wouldn't play him here. That's how good I think he is. Treat him as a sorcery that says steal target artifact. And then only use his +1 if you need to draw land and you have no other way to do that. So I think the options here are between playing the Reaver Cleaver or Demonic Tutoring. You could also play Brainstorm first and then Demonic Tutor, right? Because then you're going to shuffle away the 2.
Yep. I mean,
so what do you think, given those choices?
I think it's the next turn I can guarantee taking out the 1 ring. So, because next turn I'm going to have guaranteed 4 mana, one way or the other. I do think that the line here is to see first do the Brainstorm and then see what's worth it. And either I can see what's worth it, draw the best card, and then immediately shuffle the deck, getting out those 2 bad cards that have no use, and then demonic tutoring for maybe the 1 ring because I have the 4 mana.
Yeah, or
the demonic tutor is not going to let me search out for that Cabal Coffers, right?
Yeah, you can find any card. Any card.
And I already have the Dead Marshes in hand. So turn 4, it's already a Dead Marshes guaranteed. So maybe it's actually, it might be worth not playing the command tower now, playing the Dead Marshes, and then I still have
It's so funny you're saying this. I was actually going to stop you earlier and say, like, it's worth thinking about this, because if you get the coffers, it is turned on turn 4, like I was telling you at the beginning.
Exactly.
The problem, the reason I didn't bother, and the thing I want to warn you about, is playing the Dead Marshes often is very helpful to opponents, It allows them
Yes.
to like tap their fetch lands for mana, for example, if instead of cracking their fetches. That's something for you to know too, by the way.
Hmm.
If you are wanting to draw lands, you and you have the ability to tap this for mana instead of sacrificing it, it can be worth doing that because by cracking it, you're thinning your deck of one land. It's
Hmm.
just a tiny percentage, but like it gives you one more chance of drawing a land, right?
Correct.
Um, I, it's really close. Doesn't probably really matter. Let's just stick with the thing we played. And then I think you're right. The brainstorm is easily the right play here. Anytime you have an ability to cast this card and immediately shuffle away the other two, I would say
Hmm.
like strongly consider that play because
Got it.
do you know what Ancestral Recall is?
I don't.
Okay, so the Power Nine are like the nine most powerful cards in Magic, like ever. They're all
Yes.
from
Yep.
Alpha and Beta. One of them is Ancestral Recall. It's one blue instant, draw three cards.
Great. Got it.
This is Ancestral Recall basically if you're able to shuffle away the other two. Now, it's not
Yep.
really like, right? You lose the
Yeah.
two worst cards from your
Exactly.
hand, and even the two worst cards in your hand have value, but any ability to get it anywhere close to that level of power is like unbelievable. So I think that's a really strong play. It gives us three more looks at cards. That's really going to help inform what to get with the tutor. And,
Hmm.
the other thing to consider actually before you played the command tower, the even better thing to consider would have been to play brainstorm first because we might want to play a fetch land. Like, let's say we
Hmm.
drew everything we wanted to tutor for with brainstorm. Now we don't necessarily want to cast Demonic Tutor right now because we don't even know what we would get. In that scenario, we might just want to play the fetch land,
Hmm.
even though it's inefficient. Does that make sense? So I'd say like
Yes.
get yourself out of the headspace of playing a land at the beginning of your turn. It's really tough to do. And sometimes you'll forget
Correct.
to play a land and that really sucks because I've done that a bunch of times. But usually people will let you just play it if you ask nicely. Be like, oh, I
Hmm.
forgot to play a land. Like, has that ever happened to you in a game where someone's asked that? Like, who
Yeah.
cares? Who's
All the
going to
time.
say
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
I don't like to do it, but still. Anyway, so let's go with what we went with. We're out of time, but let's just finish this hand. So we cast the
Got it.
brainstorm. So we're drawing one,
Yep.
two, three. Wow. Okay. So what are we putting on top?
Um, what are we putting on top?
Yeah.
I th- yeah, it's. I don't think the basic land is what we're putting on top. I think that's. I'm gonna do it the other way, the backwards way. Um, I think maybe keeping Otawara just as like a removal spell
Yep.
because the Black Gate we have a ton of black mana, with the Dead Marshes. I don't see the need to keep it.
Yep.
Island, whatever. It's just a basic one. It's not gonna. We already have blue on the field.
So
There's no point in that.
quick note on this land before we move past it. The reason it's
Yeah.
in the deck, not just because it's thematic, but because that unblockable ability, basically, it's kind of confusing the
Yes.
way it's worded, but it will let you sneak in a 1/1 orc army, like, and they can't block. And then you
Correct.
can trigger Sauron's like tempt ability and discard to draw four. So
Hmm.
that will come up. It's not um, uncommon for that to come up, but still, I don't know if we need this right now. So we definitely
Yep.
want to put two land on top, right? Where our hand's full of land, right? So what are the
Yep.
two worst lands in our hand, I guess, is the question. And I,
The basic island. Yeah.
sure.
The
Yep.
basic island, and then I think it's the Black Gate. Honestly,
Yeah, it's one of
or
these two.
yeah.
I don't know which
Yeah.
one, but like, yeah, I think that's a fine choice. It's hard to know.
Yep.
Sometimes like you'll have like razor thin decisions like that and
Yep.
just pick one. Who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, and now what are we doing?
Um, we haven't played a land for turn yet, so
We have. Yeah, we played the
we
command
played the
tower.
command tower. Okay. Yeah, I mean tapping two and demonic tutoring out
Four.
immediately. The One Ring.
Okay. Any other potential options? Can we play Sauron
Uh,
next turn? This is a question you should often be asking yourself when deciding
got
what
it.
to tutor for. Now, again, refer to my previous comment. I'm not trying to push you in any direction. I just want you to make sure you're fully considering all the options. I think getting the
Yeah,
One Ring is always a foolproof choice, often a
got it.
foolproof choice, but you should
Y-
consider other options,
The
especially when we have Urborg in hand already, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, look for the other land. Definitely, it's
Mm-hmm.
another
Mm-hmm.
another option since it's gonna immediately just come in to start generating itself since we're going to have 4 lands, I think.
Do we have enough to play Sauron then?
If we play, it's only going to tap. It's going to tap for black. It taps in addition to black, or is it? Yeah, right. I think it's the way
It
that
costs
land
2 to
works.
activate, and it makes 1 black for every swamp we have, and we'll have 4, right? Or actually, no, we won't have 4 because the Urborg's not out. So
Correct.
Okay, let's back up and say we did play the Urborg. Just in this scenario, we play Coffers, and then it costs 2 to activate, and it makes 4, right?
Yep.
And then how much mana do we have left after that?
You're making, I don't even know. Quick maths.
So pretend this command tower is Cabal Coffers, okay?
Yeah.
So we put this down.
Yep.
We tap.
We need to tap 2.
2 to activate it, and it makes how much?
It makes, doesn't it make, it's 1 additional?
1 per land. Nope, it's just 1 per land.
So we're going to get 4, right?
4 black,
or
right?
No, 4 black, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then tap. We don't have, we're missing something, I think, right? We don't have enough.
Yep, exactly. We're 1 short, and we're short a color.
Yep.
Okay. So is probably not the play. Although developing that, if we had some other draw engine, could be possible. But I think your plan of getting the ring is the way to go here, for sure. That sets us up for really powerful turns to follow. Even though we don't have that huge mana source, like we get the ring, we play it. That's this turn, right? Where we had 4. And then the following turn, we still can't play Sauron. So that kind of sucks. But it really doesn't matter. Like when you have the ring out, it's just all about that. And just keep using it, and like you'll get there, You play your board wipes, you do whatever while you wait. If you've got the ring out, just go leisurely, like play stuff that's gonna make sure you don't die, and you'll win.
Here's the last question.
Yeah.
Dak, if Dak comes in and someone has the 1 ring, right?
Yeah.
If I steal their 1 ring and I play my 1 ring, will the legend rule kill that second 1 ring?
Yes.
Okay. So but I'll just steal the ring.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
If you can steal the 1 ring with Dak, that is like the
100%.
baller move. Yeah. And they will fucking flip the table. The chances they'll flip the table and you'll lose the ring that you just stole, because if they leave the game. Yeah. But it's kind of worth it.
It's 100% worth it.
I've destroyed target player with Dak before. It's pretty. It feels pretty good.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we are over time. Good.
Yep.
I was just going to ask if you had any other questions, but I guess not.
I think it was great.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good night. Appreciate you coming back.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Bye. By supporting me on Patreon, you help me toward my dream of quitting my day job and opening my own local game store. You can earn credits that you can use toward in-depth and detailed deck reviews, one-on-one coaching sessions, custom tokens, and more. Thanks for your consideration. I truly appreciate your support.